Good morning from the Truman Show Kidnapped Hostage Diaries. And I said 15 years the other day. It's actually been more than that. Basically, my entire life I have been in the bubble, we would say, since I've been misguided, misdirected, forced to play the game. It goes back to from 1947, DeSoto, Plymouth, and Baylor Elgin, Lord Elgin watches You Bet Your Life with Groucho Marx. And obviously, that's like painting a big bullseye on my family. And so we were hunted and probably murdered, in my best estimation. Or, there's all sorts of scams that were perpetrated. The problem is we were exposed as known commodities. It would be like leaving uranium on the park bench for anybody to come around and do what with that they might want to. And so they figured out all sorts of schemes and scams. So my entire life has been nothing but a scam for the most part. It's, figuring out ways to manipulate and energy. And they try to hide it under several key categories. Either freedom of religion, which the Ascension is a whole nother. They decided to veto the Ascension so they could they could maximize profits and sell some good old sweets and booze. They wanted some angel dust. They wanted that freedom of religion for the angel dust or the refinery, resources. Either way, it's like I'm stuck in the middle. On one side, it's refinery. On the other side, it's freedom of religion. On one side, it's pharmaceutical drugs. On the other side, it's fashion. On one side, it's entertainment. But I don't get a fucking dime out of it. I'm just the validator, the Jacob Valero money exchanger. Put my stamp on there and call it. It's like the British have the HRH seal on products that are used. Well, they just decide anybody that wants to can plug into me and get the validator seal because it's called freedom. That's a big problem. So then we've got the problem is that I got locked out. They basically decided we're going to take your wallet and lock you out. And then I got to play with all the Kool-Aid Jackass Daredevils. That was entertainment. Not only did they want to steal my wallet, they wanted a bozo song and dance to entertain them while they were spending my money. And me as insurance and a hostage and all that. And so the precedences and then they use the best healthcare to protect the Daredevil jackasses while the source is desecrated for healthcare. And they've got the magic helmets that derives power from the source being desecrated to protect the Daredevil jackasses. And you got insurance on top of that, which cooks the books to protect the Daredevil jackasses. So it's basically they're just doing what the worse the worse they act, the crazier they act, the more they get paid and the more damage they get. It's like a black hole. And then they even try to spin doctor it as, it's antimatter, which is one of the most abundant sources in the universe, which is actually anarchy and revolution anarchy globally. Sure, antimatter would work for a little while, but it's basically the definition of the Daredevil Jackass definition of antimatter is global revolution anarchy. Just basically, let's reshuffle the whole deck. But see, there's the factions around me have a head start. They're all ready to, they're sitting there waiting. They're ready to jump ship. Got the life rafts ready. Some will go to Alaska. Some will go to South America. A bunch will go to Australia and to Canada. And some will go to Europe. They're already ready to jump ship, but they're going to hang on and party as long as possible while I'm paying, But that's the crazy, stupid gamble because it keeps spreading disease over, the disease keeps getting worse and worse globally. But hey, they don't care, It's kind of like keep the party going no matter what. So they stole my wallet and locked me out. And I've been banging on the door trying to get in for years and years and years. And then my entire family, well, then it gets into the whole brainwashing thing. It's like they beat you down. It's like the golden spike at Promontory Point. Just hammer down, call it depression. Well, there's criminal fucking intent. Is it depression if it's a bank robbery? Oh, those hostages in the vault, that's just depression, you know? That identity theft? That ain't identity theft. That's depression, you know, getting hammered down by the criminals who are stealing your wallet. No. That's you know, or call it some sort. Any way to disease is a weapon these days. You know, it's like the disease is used as a weapon while they're playing good cop, bad cop with disease but it's keeping in the middle while the healthcare is paying for it. And everybody's getting fat, having a party, good old time. The world's paying because of bad judgment. And I mean, this anarchy revolution is creating horrific sentiment globally. Individualism is dangerous. It's really dangerous, especially when there's no accountability, when you got poor judgment. Individualism is dangerous, especially when you worship vanity. I mean, that right there, everybody is always only going to look out for themselves. So they're going to drive it off a cliff. You know, you're going to have two distinct sides, the haves and the have-nots, and they're going to fight each other to the death. And they're going to drive the whole thing off a cliff, obviously. So we get into the Brewster's Millions games. You know, it was kind of like, we're going to teach you to hate money or something. You know, it's all these, anything that was like a astronomy sign, the desecrate the victims, you got to spin doctor it up and make it the way. But it also goes back to that Omega interpretation. Always the license to steal, kill, and ill, Omega interpretation. So it gives them, you know, that's the freedom to do whatever you might want. And, you know, you can stack the deck, you can make up whatever you want. Because when you put the bank, it's like saying, we're going to open the bank vault and let anybody they want come in and take whatever they want. They just have to write, like in Dumb and Dumber, they had that briefcase full of IOUs. Sure, hey, this is a Lamborghini, you better save that. You know, but are they really good for it? No. I mean, that's the question about it, is what's backing the accountability. Hostages! Hey, you got hostages! So now it's you know, you got so much insurance and healthcare riding on crooked math that now it's desperate hostages because you gambled. You bet my life. You know, you didn't want to build a bank. You wanted all natural. And yeah, I know. Play this game, you know, the dungeon game. Teach lessons. It goes back to, like, they had the Chinese bandits were this real ferocious defensive unit. Or the orange crush of the Broncos, the purple people eaters, the monsters of the Midway. That's kind of what I've inflicted. But I don't even have a team anymore. It's handicapped is the Omega hard. You know, they want it as hard as fucking possible because Omega is the hardest, the worst. You know, we're going to make it so hard on the bank to shut its door because we want to walk in and take whatever we want. You know, we want to loot the place, so we're going to make it Omega hard to build walls. We want it all natural, of course. The easier, the better, while the bank is getting looted and pillaged. Sure, that's obviously the mob. You know, party on dudes, you know, of course. It's Mardi Gras. It never ends, you know, just keep throwing it around. So me, I'm playing, my whole life was, they wanted to try to desecrate me. It was a kind of like, I honestly think it was a massacre. I called it the Chinese Bandits versus Prince Charmin massacre. They wanted to erase, you know, but it's going back to any sort of mentality possible, trying to erase anything. But you know, what they did was they gave me like, Lou Gehrig syndrome, where my muscle actually turned against me as the Omega handicap. You know, we got to make it hard. You can only use your mind. Only use, you know, you got to stay. It just got to be so. And this is a theoretical interpretation of how my genes were hacked and the surrounding of what I've seen. Because if you look at my life and you go back and trace, I mean, I always had terrible jobs. I never once had anybody come up and say, hey, give me a call, let's work on a project. I never once had girls come up to me and give me a phone number. Never in my entire life. I never, with the, maybe a few exceptions, but never once my entire life had any friends that were trying to say, hey, let's do something. Why don't we go look at oil leases, or, why don't we try to start a business? It was always, I had to chase them down and then, try to and even when I found somebody, it was like they played dumb, dead weight, just, like bars. I was surrounded by dead weight because I was hostages. And then they tried to claim it as, oh, it's rely on the Tiger refinery. Bullshit, Basically what was happened was the mob was buying favors by sacrificing my family. So they would do the dirty work and buy favors from the oil companies. So they would basically hack us to pieces and say, hey, oil companies, come in and do your work. But now you got to be my muscle. And, they're trying to buy favors by sacrificing me to the oil companies and then claim it as freedom of religion, when oil and religion are just totally opposite because of it's just totally opposite. Total opposite. And then I keep hearing about, I came up with on the phone years ago telling my father, we've got to rise above it. This, because we were hacked to death. If we try to play in the game, and we have a lot to lose. We have billions and billions of dollars we're losing. So then I remember hearing the Atlanta Falcons slogan, rise above, last year, because obviously they were tapping my phone calls, and they were, I'm a kidnapped hostage here being held, in detention because they want to keep my wallet. See, what's going on is they fucked us so bad that they are insurance, healthcare, desperate to breed hostages. Because they, basically, when they fuck me by stabbing and spearing me, that means, well, now, because of insurance and healthcare, because we tried to kill you. See, they tried to murder me by, I basically was forced to play these games. So it was either murder by suicide, murder by wreck, murder by exposed out in the ghetto. But I didn't die. So now, because I didn't get killed, then they have to breed hostages with my family. That's why I'm in detention right now, because they screwed up so bad, and they've got the best health care, and they got the best insurance, and they're so valuable because they screwed up so bad. They worship the degrees, even though they use the dumbest fucking logic. And they worship the letter of the law when they're actually cooking the book something fierce. It's the gray area is all right. You got different, it's the gray shadow areas that it's worship. So now they've got to destroy my family. That's what my entire life was. That's why we got the CBS. My grandmother and grandfather lived on Columbia Street. It wasn't, Columbia Broadcasting System, is it? They had to hammer us down, just desecrate us, try to drive us apart in order to be able to maintain control of the assets, because they had screwed us so bad, I think. And so they kept dragging me around. I'm basically walking around hogtied. I mean, when we're talking about, I've never in my life I've had $5,000 or $6,000 in cash on one or two occasions. And what can you do with that? I mean, most of my life I had a few $100s in cash. That was my entire life. That is a choke chain, hogtied. When I'm worth $1 billion, and anybody that wants can come up and spear, stab me, and pick my pocket. That's freedom there. That's free loot. So basically, they had to drive us apart. They had to figure out scams and schemes to lumberyard, basically, the big Prince Charmin. That's where it goes to. They wanted to produce a ton of cash by chopping down me. See, I'm going to be castrated, and I've been threatened. If I even ever have a baby, they will probably be killed. They're using the scare tactic now. The mob is desperate. I mean, they have spent so much cash that if they audit the books, they're fucked. You know, that's why it's the desperate cover-up. So they are desperate. They're trying to divert it to my sister. They're trying to validate, the organized crime is trying to pretend to be this Bourne ultimatum. You know, they're all secret special ops of the CIA, but they won't let you, they're terrified of shining a light on it. Yeah, it's a bullshit scam. You know, it really is. You got a million people with these fake Big Brother badges, you know, 1984 Orwell sort of thing, or how the Nazis train their kids to rat on, you know, that sort of thing. So it's all about buying favors and keeping us hostages. And then, I mean, it's basically just hammer down any way possible. Yeah, anything possible. And the mob tries to, that's why I'm basically laid on train tracks. They'll get something, a precedence. They'll get something of precedence. And then they'll run a whole stampede over it. It's like disease. They're using disease because I provide health care, even though I get the worst health care to provide health care. Because they wanted to gamble. You know, they are Daredevil Jackass gamblers. You know, they are brave Daredevil Jackass gamblers. There ain't no chicken fried steak here. You know, so they hog-tie me, lay me under a stampede precedence, and then you know how fickle and stupid the public really is when it looks at it. You know, it'll follow a trend off a cliff, right, gangnam? So they run a stampede precedence over me in order to validate it, but I'm not allowed to repair it. It's like stabbing me or spearing me, letting me bleed, and then the disease is the weapon. The disease is the stampede precedent, but I'm not allowed because so many people have screwed me, so many valuable people have screwed me over, so I'm not allowed health care. You know, health care for me is, you know, because they don't want to pay their bills. They think that's free. You know, they want to screw. They want it free. They want us, you know, they want it as cheap as, they don't want to pay anything. You know, the game is, how much can we screw? You know, let's screw it to the max. How many angles of screwing can we do? You know, it's just gotten to be ridiculous. And the law doesn't play the gray shadow areas. The gray shadow areas is this code hacking. It's the forgery code hacking. They won't let me fix it. They won't let me build walls. You know, it's just ridiculous. That's motive right there in my theoretical estimation of what's going on. And, you know, and then also play sides against each other. See, they won't let me in the door. Because if I ever get any competent people around me, I could build a wall. They're addicted to the open vault. They want that bank vault wide open, you know. So anybody, it's bribery to be able to walk in and take whatever you want. You know, that's a bribe. So they are desperate to be able to keep their bribery money, their fund to bribe, open. That's partly why it's exposed. So then you got the pride reverence playing sides against each other. So anything that I can do better than somebody else, they will desecrate me to buy favors to the other person. But they're really keeping us divide and conquer. You know, keep them separated, like that Offspring song and the Self-Esteem song they also sang. But it's hammer down the self-esteem, desecrate, buying favors. They're using me to bribe and buy favors. But it's not really a bridge because it really is a gamble. It's a house of cards gamble because you have to keep us. I mean, now the disease, the evolution, the anarchy revolutionary disease is starting to take hold globally, and so they're trying to play that angle. So now it's always playing the angles. Rather than fixing the problem, they want to try to play it. You know, it's this bullshit golf logic. The golf is not God. I don't care if Prince William went to St. Andrews. I don't care if I played junior varsity fucking high school golf. I don't care that my father played a lot of golf. Golf rules are not gospel, you fucking retards! I don't give a fuck about your Caddyshack high school handicap while you steal my fucking wallet. You know, bullshit. It's a fucking organized crime sham is what it is. Golf is not fucking God. You're fucking play it as it lie, self-reliant, retarded fucking bullshit is criminal intent. That's what you gotta start looking at. Is there criminal intent involved with organized crime? And organized crime is using forgery. And forgery is backed up by hostages. That's motive. Hey, so your bullshit golf is bullshit. And this, because my kidnappers drug us around and forced us into bad situations, because we were mismanagement, because they were trying to bribe people to keep us kidnapped so they could keep their stolen loot. It's about fencing stolen property. Do you understand what fencing stolen property is? They cage the victim so, hey, we can keep the stolen loot. I mean, for Christ's sakes, you talk about some crooked fucking cops, organized crime here. That's also why it was desecration to the max, you know. Yet I'm still hogtied on the train tracks being run over by a stampede, stabbed and speared, SMUrf forever, and, you know, choked and strangled till I'm SMUrf blue, hanging, asphyxiation there, and that's not freedom of religion. Fuck you, you fucking pile of fucking Exxon Mobil reverend piece of shit. I don't give a fuck about, it's the biggest fucking sham in the fucking world. It's playing every angle. That's how the fucking mob works. You know, whatever works, make shit up. There's no law, no balance. You can, because we have deep pockets, you can spin doctor in any way possible. That's called organized crime. The herd mob. They play every angle. Good cop, bad cop, and 50 shades of cop in between. Play every angle. They surround the fucking victim while it gets looted. And then now, because they're so fucking special, because of the identity theft and the blood transfusion and the communal organ usage, so now they got a anarchy revolution globally to protect the heist. Because you didn't want to pay your bills. Because you wanted to be Kool-Aid, Daredevil, Jackass, brave, And you wanted to, you bet my life. So now the world is just going to go off a cliff.